Mahinda Rajapaksa was up for election in November 2005. Prior to the presidential election, he asked for the backing and got the backing of Sinhala Buddhist, ethno-religious chauvinists and hardline Sinhalese extremists. And on their backs, he was elected to power as president. Peace talks were abandoned and a military solution embarked upon. Sri Lanka's duplicitous game with the ceasefire agreement was shown by Gotabaya Rajapaksa's defense secretary, the president's brother and confidant. On the 10th of April 2007, he said, and I quote, "Officially, we have not said that there is no ceasefire agreement, probably to keep the international community happy." Look at the double negatives. We have not said that there is no ceasefire agreement. In other words, there is supposed to be a ceasefire agreement, but it's only to keep the international community happy. That is duplicitous politics. These are figures recently released by the Nordic Sri Lanka Monitoring Mission, February 2007. This is the time that the ceasefire agreement was signed. Between 22 February 2002 and November 2005, less than 130 died, not surprisingly because the guns were silenced. In November 2005, President Rajapaksa is elected, and between November 2005 and 22nd February 2007, that's last month, nearly 4,000 have died. It is a leap from 130 in 3.5 years to 4,000 in just 15 months. A large number seriously injured and thousands of families fleeing the area of fighting. You can't fight a war without weapons, and it is worthwhile asking who supplies the weapons. Well, the Sri Lankan government boasts that more than 30 countries supply arms. Britain, Pakistan, increasingly so, India, Israel, the US, through devious routes, and several other countries. Few miss out on this lucrative business. In recent years, it's been China, which has no regulations about selling weapons to countries with internal conflicts. They know perfectly well that what they supply will be used against the Tamil people. They just don't care. I just digress for a moment into Sri Lanka's defense expenditure because it is important in the continuation of this war. In 1977, 0.75 billion rupees was allocated to defense. This increased progressively, as you can see, 86 to 6, 24, 36, 56, 63, 69 billion rupees. This is, mind you, with a ceasefire in operation. Despite a so-called ceasefire, the defense allocation increased from $69 billion to $139 billion, which is the budget allocation this year. A former Air Force chief who should know what he's talking about says that this budget is normally overrun, and he expects the 2007 actual expenditure to be in excess of 200 billion Sri Lankan rupees, which is about 1.8 billion US dollars. This is sustainable only from foreign aid. If you go into the budget, you will find that Sri Lanka has a budget deficit 2007 of 235 billion rupees. How is it going to be met? By foreign borrowings, 114, that's nearly half the budget deficit, and foreign grants, which means that if the foreign supply of money stops, this war will have to end for financial reasons. So it is the foreign money that is keeping this conflict going and preventing the government of Sri Lanka from coming up with any reasonable solution to the ethnic problem. This is a war that is being fought not just against the Tamil tigers, but against the Tamil people to force them to accept Sri Lanka as a Sinhala Buddhist nation. I will give you evidence in this presentation. Let's have a look at the weapons that are unleashed on the Tamil civilian population. Here are battle tanks, just one of many, some even larger than this. Here are the multi-barrel rocket launchers firing some 35 shells a minute, some even more. Here are the warships which Tamil and Muslim fishermen have to cope with on a daily basis, the fast attack gunboats. These are lethal jets and bombers. This is the terrible K-4 Israeli-built K-4 jet which has bombed orphanages, refugee camps, and much more. The engines were made in the US by General Electric. Here are the helicopter gunships. They have machine guns, civilians, and civilian targets from treetop heights. To claim, as the Sri Lankan government does, that this is collateral damage is absolute arrant nonsense. They could clearly see what they were doing from the heights they were flying. It was very deliberate. What about the armed forces, ironically called the security forces? They are 175,000 strong. I draw your attention to the fact that Australia, with all its overseas commitments, has just 91. And this miserably poor country, living on international handouts, with no external commitments and with no foreign enemies, has a 175,000 strong armed force. 99% of these armed forces are Sinhalese. Some 50,000 are in Jaffna in the north, where 99% are Tamil speaking. You might ask, as you should, what is the army doing in Jaffna? Well, it is securing. Securing Jaffna from whom? From the Tamil people. Well, Jaffna doesn't need to be secured from the Tamil people. The Tamil people are not going to run away with Jaffna. It has nothing to do with security. It is an army of occupation. They are to bully, harass and terrify the people in the north, the Tamils, to accept Sri Lanka as a singular Buddhist nation. These security forces are the main cause of insecurity and the violation of human rights of the civilians in the north and the east, and they will remain there until we ask the hard questions. And it is up to you to do so if you want the human rights violations to at least decrease. Here are Tamil massacres since Rajapaksa became president. From the 25th of December 2005 to date, that's up to about early May, in these 18 months there have been some 23 massacres of Tamil civilians. I got the details. They include the bombing and shelling of refugee camps, schools, students, hospitals, entire villages, entire Tamil families massacred, scores of individual Tamils, none of whom, and I stress,